morning. Yesterday there were two terror attacks. The Russian ambassador to Turkey was killed, and then a truck, a semi-trailer, filled with 25 tons of steel bars, mowed down people, and more than a dozen people were killed. There was a fire in Mexico as well, but we are not sure whether it was a terror attack or not. In Indonesia, just a few hours back, 3 terrorists were arrested. They were planning to bomb different parts of Indonesia. Would this madness never cease? These terror attacks have 2 dimensions. One is that a certain groups wants to create mayhem and indulges in killing. Second is that the policies of the government in different parts of Europe and North America are conducive to acceptance of those groups' dictates, insofar especially as the preventive steps taken are just mere palliatives. It has been seen that in Sweden and in Germany, sex crimes increased 72% since the refugee flood came. And they were mostly in the refugee areas. Some parts of Germany are already for police a no-go area. Police doesn't go there, and the Muslim patrols roam that place. Yesterday, a few months back in Nice, a truck came and killed 79 people. The same was repeated in USA just a month back, and now the truck. And this is not something out of the blue. ISIS had in a video very clearly stated that they will use unconventional weapons. That is cars and trucks. You can't imagine them to be a weapon, but they are weapons. When a maniac is driving a vehicle and then he mows down innocent people out to enjoy Christmas or their shopping, it is use of an unconventional weapon against which there cannot be an effective safeguard. But the point arises, how come that these refugees were permitted to come? Some fault lies with the Western powers themselves. Their habit of meddling into the affairs of others, unsettled political conditions, and people had to leave. And some people were made to leave as part of that exodus. And that small portion it may be are the fifth column, the hidden of ISIS, Al-Qaeda and other militant groups to spread murder, mayhem and eventual loss of life in favor of the peaceful citizens. It has been demonstrated out of number that the refugees cannot be vetted properly. It has been demonstrated clearly that the refugees are a camouflage, at least some of them. Some of them are a camouflage for the terrorists to come into the peaceful regions and commit acts of terrorism. You see, they cannot be vetting. Let's be very clear about it. The people who we don't know, whose background cannot be judged, the political conditions are so bad. So vetting when the politicians say has been done is basically to put blinkers on the eyes of the public, to mislead the public. As a matter of fact, vetting can only be done in peaceful, normal conditions. Secondly, there is every possibility and there has been clear indications as well as clear examples that even young children and women have been used as agents of terrorism. You see, the West seems to be suffering from a death wish. They have forgotten the history and they have forgotten the recent facts as well. When Fort Hood massacre took place, Obama called it a workplace violence instead of calling it Islamic terrorism. When Nice terror attack happened, a Europe terror attack happened, there should have been a call to stop the flood of refugees. As a matter of fact, it was said, well, there might be some people who are bad. Well, even if 1 in a million is bad, but he can kill hundreds of innocent people, is that to be permitted? As I said, there are different dimensions. First was, why did the Western powers destabilize Middle East? They had no business doing it. And now in hindsight, CIA yesterday admitted that if Saddam had not been disturbed and if he had been allowed to continue to rule, things would have been normal. And the same conclusion would be there after a couple of years in the case of Libya, that Gaddafi should not have been removed, and in Syria, that Assad should not have been removed. At least attempt has been made, but thanks to Russia and Iran, he is not being removed. Same is position of Yemen. So basically, it is an act of wanton, undesirable interference in those people, which has created a reaction. But now the reaction has been created. It should have been sufficient to stop it there and ask the cronies of Western powers, like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, Kuwait, and other oil-rich countries to accommodate all the refugees. Just one city which Saudi Arabia built to earn money, the Mecca city, fully air-conditioned, which can accommodate 1 million people, should have been sufficient to accommodate all the refugees. But not a single refugee has gone either to Saudi Arabia or to any of the GCC states. There are 6 GCC states. Why should Western common people, innocent people, be the victims of the stupidities of their political leadership? Secondly, we always say learn from history and learn from your experience. Coming first to the history. The Muslim way of conquering a country has various dimensions. And one of the most important is the concept of hijrah. When Muhammad left Mecca for Medina, that was the first hijrah. That you shift from one place to another place. And then you go to the new place and conquer that place slowly and steadily. You have a two-pronged attack. You enter it insidiously as peaceful citizens. And as your number grows, start demanding accommodation, and then your sufficient number demand it by force, and then rebel. That was thought to be the basic way of enhancing your power. And that is what ISIS and Al-Qaeda is doing even now. The refugees are essentially being created to be the forefront of that hijrat movement, the transfer of the people, and in that cover they are sending the task force of the terrorists who will create the problems, and slowly and steadily Islam would be there. And that too not real Islam, but the fundamentalist Islam. So that is a cultural and historical aspect which has been ignored, though the West thinks it has a monopoly on scholarship. Second is the example of the others. When we have seen the situation in the Scandinavian countries, in Italy, in Germany, in Denmark, how the refugees have created issues over there. Why did we have the refugees here? 31,000 refugees were brought in last year instead of the 10,000 which was originally said. And now another 25 to 30,000 are supposed to be brought in, either from Middle East, but as McCallum says, from Africa. Again, they are the Muslim refugees. And let's not forget, Africa has worst possible terrorist gangs like that of Boko Haram, who will not only create mayhem there, but persuade young girls to go to Africa and become sex slaves. And that is why this refusal to learn from the history and refusal to learn from the experience of others, I call it an expression of death wish. The whole country is being put in danger. And even now we are not willing to wake up. I would say Merkel was extremely careless when she brought in more than 900,000 refugees. But at least yesterday she admitted it was a mistake. Nevertheless, our Prime Minister in Canada is neither admitting the mistake nor even making any statement. I am yet to see a statement from the Foreign Minister or from the Prime Minister condemning the terror attack in Germany or condemning the assassination of the Russian ambassador in Turkey. This leaves a very sour taste in the mouth. Where are the diplomatic niceties gone? Even if you don't have sympathy for the innocent people who have been killed, even then diplomatic nicety wanted an expression of regret and a condolence to the innocent people killed. But no. You see, let's not forget that we are sowing the wind. And the Bible says, you sow the wind and you will reap the whirlwind. Hindu philosophy of karma. The karma of these politicians is going to come back and bite us in the ass. Unfortunately, for their immediate benefits of getting plaudits and applause from the people, as well as from building a vote bank for the next election, these politicians have simply ignored the realities of life. In my book, Islamic Art of War, I have delineated very clearly how Islam spreads its tentacles. I have nothing against Islam, as long as Islam, like any other religion, adheres to itself and does not indulge in anti-human, anti-women, anti-minority, anti-other religion activities. Religion is somebody's personal thing. One can pray the way one wants. I have no problem with that. But why should others be forced to adhere to the for example, Sharia. And that is going to happen. That is already happening in parts of England, like Birmingham and others. And it's likely to happen, it's happening in Denmark. It's happening in Italy. It is happening in Germany. It's happening in parts of the world where they have a sizable number in that group. And that's why the police over there has called it no-go zone. There was a time when one of the premiers of Ontario wanted to bring in Sharia. And we told him that he's playing with fire. Unfortunately, we have a warped sense of human rights. We have no notion of history. We have no understanding of the psyche of the opponent. The opponent, I mean the terrorists who belong to Islamist tradition of violence, not the Sufi tradition of Islam, the peaceful tradition of Islam. You see, every religion has a problem. And there are always two aspects, the militant and the peaceful. While other religions, the militant aspect has been sublimated, Islam, it has not been sublimated. The concept of Ghazi. Ghazi is who kills others to receive martyrdom, is only peculiar to Islam today. It was peculiar to the other religions at one time, not today. Some parts, some portions of the Islamic thought seem to be stuck in the Middle Ages. And we, living in North America or in Europe, are absolutely unmindful of the reality of life. That is, you cannot have a scorpion as a bedmate. Even the old fables show, you take in a camel to protect the camel from the cold, and ultimately you'll be kicked out of the tent. Maybe Canada rules don't realize that they are bringing in the Syrian camels, and one day Syrian camels shall kick them out. Are we waiting for that to happen? Are we still going to realize the facts that self-preservation is the most important thing, and we have to wake up, realize the facts, social, cultural, religious, political, and ensure that this system of humanity is not vitiated by some people masquerading as refugees. And the government wakes up, and since it cannot differentiate between the good and the bad refugee, there's no way to do it. Put a stop to this so-called suicidal mission of having a kowtowing to the Islamic thought as a part of misleading politically correctness. Delay would be disastrous. Let's hope something is done.